Good morning, witches. I'm back. How's everyone doing this morning? I always prepare myself when I get on a live, anointing with some specific oils. Hi, Margie. How's everyone this morning? Oh, I need my hat. Let's do this real quick. Who goes around with their incense, just wafting it around? Now this helps clear, right? Cleanse. But do you know why you're using incense? Do you know what the smoke is actually doing? How many know that? So what you are actually working with here could be the spirit of ether or the spirit of air or the spirit of fire as you light it. And the smoke is actually carrying your prayer or your request up to the heavens. So if you're just wafting it around, it might cleanse something in its natural properties of whatever plant it's made from. But if you are not adding a prayer, a request to the smoke, that it will carry your prayers to the heavens or to the spirits that you work with, that you be protected during a live, that no one's influence outside of your property line can enter unless it is for your highest and best good, whatever it might be. So when I get my incense out at the beginning of a live, that's what I'm doing. And you know, a lot of witches, especially witches that practice demonology, and I don't. I do work with spirits, but I am not a demonologist, but I know they command spirits. And I feel like for myself as a witch, commanding anything from the other side is ridiculous. If someone commanded me to do anything, I would be like, no. So I request from the spirits their protections. I'm requesting their blessing, and the smoke actually carries that request up into the ethers to those spirits, and hopefully they will help me. And I actually know they will help me because I've worked with them for so long. So remember, when you're burning your incense, you're not just burning incense, because you can burn incense all day long, and yes, there are plant spirits, and yes, they're going to help you. But if you are not requesting a prayer to connect to that smoke and carry it somewhere, you're not getting out of what the incense could bring for you. You might just be making your house smell good, right? So let me grab my hat, you guys. Maybe I won't wear my hat today. You know, in the summer, it's so hot to wear a wool hat. Even if you have air conditioning on in Arizona, it's so stinking hot. So I'm gonna clear my energy field really quick and attune with those who will be on the live today. Just asking Spirit, my guides, my ancestors, and all those who work with me, walk with me in a good way, that you open my channel, my field, protect and guide me. Open my field, protect and guide my moderators. Open and protect, guide, and draw those who are meant to hear my message today, whatever that might be, to my life. So, in my head, whenever I go live, you guys will see me often have my incense as I begin, but I usually don't say out loud what is actually going through my mind. So that's something that is, I'm sharing today because I feel called to. So I'm just going to take a moment and send that protection to those who are on the live. If you want to close your eyes, take a deep breath in. And as you breathe out, I'm sending you love, protection, light, awakening the spirits that walk with you and I in a good way. This candle generally, I don't know if you guys can see it. Can you see it? That is my candle dedicated to Isis in Hecate. And it's been burning for over a year. That candle never goes out. Never burns completely down. Okay. I wear my hat on my live, so when people are scrolling by, they know I'm a witch. All right. So I have not been going live as much as I usually go live. I used to go live every Sunday. I haven't been live in probably well over a month. I have been taking some time for me. Have you guys felt the intense energy of change, of just a lot this summer? It's been like this interesting combination of this deep inward journey, but also a lot going on externally. We are coming up. I had a birthday this summer too. Hi, spiritual Pisces. So I had a birthday in June. I'm a Cancer sun, Pisces moon, Libra rising, Venus and Leo. Not all witches carry the same aesthetic, just so everyone knows. With my Libra rising, my Venus and Leo, my aesthetic, lots of lace and pretty things call to me. You've got the Scorpio rising. Love it. So that witch in you precedes you. Hello, Brooke. Your birthday's in July. Are you July Cancer or a July Leo? So if you guys have any questions for me, put them in the chat. I would love to answer your questions. We have a Pisces full moon, almost total lunar eclipse this week. And that is, almost all, but not all, eclipses come in pairs. And they're within this 2-week window. They open and then they close, and yet they have some eclipse seasons will have a years and years and years a long effect on us, and all eclipses usually usher in a change into your life that you're going to see for the next 6 months. Now, during this time, I don't do a lot of spell work. I'm trying to choose my language carefully these days differently, because I realize the way I used to speak really put borders and walls even around my own practice, and my practice isn't like that, but I didn't want the responsibility of saying things online that people take out of context. So it was easier to say things like, I don't hex or curse, when that's really not the case. If I need to, I will. Also, things like, I don't do magic on eclipses. Most of the time, I am not doing any spells on eclipses. I do rituals of cleansing, of release, of opening my channel. I am meditating in silence a lot more during this time to open up to the spirits, because I believe between eclipses and even on an eclipse, the liminal energy, it's almost like the veils part during that time. So my focus during eclipse is less on spell work and more on surrendering the will of my ego to the will of the goddess or the divine. So that is generally what I'm doing. At eclipses, I believe it's this time where, because the veil's thin and shadow is exposed, it's almost like giving the steering wheel of your car to the divine so that they can turn your life around. I always say, like, Christians say, Jesus, take the wheel. Yeah, no, I'm not giving Jesus the wheel to my life. He's not my savior. I think he's a cool dude, likely a witch. But if I'm turning my will over to someone to turn my life around for the higher and best good, that would be surrendering it to Creator, to Source, which is already a part of me. So our ego is a part of our human experience. We wouldn't be human if we did not have an ego. Your ego is not evil, but the ego is meant to protect you. And oftentimes we get in this mode of living our life with these protections that actually cage us in. And on my lives, one of the most common questions I get is like, how to protect myself. And I feel like people are so hyper fixated on protecting themselves. You're never going to experience anything that is, I'm searching for a word, otherworldly, because you box yourself in with these protections because of fear. And so even though the question I'm getting is, how do I protect myself? The question that they're really asking me is, how do I work with this fear that is in my field? And we're never going to walk this planet with the sovereignty that we are meant to if we don't look at the roots of that fear. So let me look at some of your questions here. Hi, Tara. Kitty's doing well. Very good. Actually, things are going really good in my life. I've had some amazing opportunities this summer. Let's see. Can you practice with your heart and not follow rules? Or is that dangerous? So, great question. I am different than a lot of witches you find online. I do not believe you need to practice by a set of structured rules. Hi, Salem. Hi, baby. You want to come up here with me? My cat Salem just came in. So I am all about your sovereignty. However, most witches today are just claiming the title, if you call it that, of witch, and never having read a book, having no familial line of wisdom that they're following. Oh my gosh, you guys. Look at Salem. Hi Salem. He just got that feather. I don't know if you've seen him grab that. What are you telling me here, huh? So that is a raven's feather that I found recently in a parking lot that I was walking through. And there is a lot of spiritual. What are you wanting, honey? I hear you. Come here. Come here. What? What? All right. There's Salem, you guys. I think he wants to be a part of the live today. Say hello. So, oh, he's like, I'm going. I'm probably going to go back and get that raven's feather again. Anyway, what was I talking about? I totally lost my train of thought. What was I talking about, you guys? Oh, if you have, I will answer the question in just a moment on when the veil is thinnest for the spirits, Kelly. So if you don't have a foundation for your practice, you're likely not going to be as powerful of a witch as you could be, and I invite you to explore within yourself what actually you are claiming when you say you're a witch. Because, you know, with the rise in popularity of the witch is kind of, the word witch is becoming diminished, and what it means changes with every generation. And I feel like that's important to look at, because a lot of what we're lumping into witchcraft, such as demonology, for instance, is highly influenced by the Golden Dawn, the Keys of Solomon, Aleister Crowley. And were they witches, or were they practitioners of the occult? And that's, you know, what I'm always looking at when I am researching history. Were they actual witches? Was their occult mystery practices influenced by Christianity? Because I come from a history of being in a family of witches, or half my family was, my mother's side, knew they were witches, hiding behind, you know, silence, like you never talk to anyone about it kind of thing. And we went to church on Sundays, and I feel like a lot of us out there probably have that, because it's the way that we survived, our ancestors, not we, but our ancestors survived the society that we've lived in, that actually applauded murder and crime against women, children, and people who didn't look like them or practice like them. And so I'm always looking for anything that is pre-Christian, which there's not a lot out there. And with the rise in popularity of the witch, everyone is claiming they're a witch, and it's because they bought a deck of tarot cards, and what that, or they like crystals. And what that opens them up to is possibly becoming popular for being something that they're not. And then we have these people online who are like really popular tarot card readers that all of a sudden one day decide they're going back to Christianity. And it's like there was never any foundation there to begin with, if that makes sense, because they were taking on a title that wasn't sacred and holy to them. To me, the title of witch, if you call it a title, I hate to call it a title, but a categorization, you know, I identify as a witch. That means something different to me than most people. It means that I am working with both the earth and the ethereal. Now, someone was asking when the veils are the thinnest. We are in the half of the year where the moon has taken her reign. So at summer solstice, the sun stands still for 3 days. After that sun stands still for 3 days, every day it begins to get lower in the sky until Mabon, where the sun and the moon, the light and the dark are at equal. They're holding equal reign of the mantles of light. Now, it is said that from Mebon until Ostara, you can consider that the darkest half of the year, or you can consider the darkest half of the year June to December in the northern hemisphere. Now, if you live in the southern hemisphere, that's going to be different. So a lot of people say the veil is at its thinnest at Samhain and at Beltane. Now, for myself, calendar Samhain is something we put a label on as humans. I don't even believe the 31st is the actual alignment of Samhain. I think our ancestors were looking for solar and lunar alignments and celestial alignments that told them when the veil was the thinnest. If you are saying that when the sun is at its lowest point, meaning we're having the longest days of darkness, the shortest days of light, I should say, the longest nights, that is when the veil is thinnest. So for me, the veil feels very thin in December, but most practicing witches go by that. Samhain and Beltane are when the veils are thinnest. Now, I think the veils are definitely thin there. I have a belief that at Beltane, the veils definitely open, and it's directly across in the hemispheres. So when northern hemisphere, we in the north are experiencing Beltane in May, in the south they are experiencing Samhain. There's always this divine balance on this planet. You never have one without the other. So both of those time periods, the veils are thin. That's why they say the fae, the elementals, the gnomes, the spirits will come through the fires. It's said, our ancestors used to light these big bonfires, and it was said that the spirits could enter this realm through the flames, through the fire. And so that's why there were so many fire festivals in occult history, I believe. Well, in pagan history, they honored the fire. The fire was like their life force for them. It kept them alive in the cold winters. It warmed their food. They honored the fire. And so that's why they had these huge bonfires. But also in occult, you see fire used a lot because it is said that the fire attracts the spirits and gives them a gateway into our realm, if that makes sense. I believe there are the way our dimensional energy works, where, say, if you believe in the fae or the elementals, that, or any spirit that you are sensing, that I believe, well, this life is kind of like a TV, and you might be watching Virgin River on one channel, and then on another channel you're watching Practical Magic, and on another channel you're watching Family Feud. Whatever you're tuned into, meaning whatever channel you're changing your TV to, is what you're going to see, right? So most people are just tuned into this 3D reality, and I hate to use the terms 3D and 5D because I think that's one of those terms that has become so over spiritualized and it doesn't even mean anything. People are just using that, just like timeline hopping and stuff like that. And I fear that's happening with the witch as well, but it depends on what channel you are tuned into and you have available to you. So did you pay for HBO or did you pay for Netflix? If you don't pay for them, you're not going to see them. Does that make sense? So for the witch, why the average human walking our planet is not, they can walk around and never sense a spirit in their entire life. Well, that's because they haven't worked with that channel, or for example, like paid for Netflix. So I don't mean that you need to pay for your witchcraft. I'm just using that as an example. So by creating altars, giving offerings to the spirits, by meditating, opening my channel to those spirits, I am for, in analogy sense, like paying for Netflix, I'm opening myself to those dimensions where those spirits exist. Now, those spirits are around us. They are helping us. Some are hindering us. Some will be influencing your life, and you will never be aware of it your whole life. Witches are tuned into that frequency. And that's why I say these people that are grabbing crystals and hopping on the bandwagon trend of I'm a witch because popular Practical Magic 2 is out and all of that. And I do believe there's, I say this very cautiously, there's a little witch in all women, but I also don't believe all women are witches. So it's like, I need to make sure those two phrases go really close hand in hand, because I think there is something that humans call witchy. It's different to be witchy than to be a witch. To be a practicing witch is the way you live your life and the connections that you are tuned into and what you're open to. Now, just like I said, people who are working on Wall Street likely are not tuned into those channels. They're tuned into very earthly societal frequencies that are human made. Are there spirits helping them? Yes, I believe we all come into this lifetime with guiding spirits that are meant to help us. I believe they're part of what our soul contract would be. What's the best day to do a spell? Here's the thing that I was talking about, you guys. That question to a real practicing witch wouldn't be a question. So my answer to you is to start studying witchcraft so you have the foundational teachings of what the craft is. I have a ton of online classes. Other witches have an online class. Find who resonates with your soul. Take an online class. If you read, pick up a book and read. Every day of the week carries a influence depending on the planet that has most influence on that day of the week. Monday would be the day the moon has influence over your spell work. So there's no one day of the week that is the best day to do a spell. There's no, on the full moon, it's best to do a spell. On the new moon, it's best to do a spell. It's what are your workings? What are your relationships with the planet that rules that day? What is the energy of that day? When we're working with the energy of Monday and the moon, we're working with intuition, we're doing shadow work, we're working with the unconscious mind, with the unseen realms. We're digging into more psychological healing work. And Tuesday carries a completely different frequency of Mars, the energy of getting things going. That's why it's so bizarre that we start our work week on Monday, because we're starting in this like shadow where everybody's kind of like going inward. Tuesday's like, let's go. Here's the fire. Let's get things started. A lot of people say Aries is the planet of, or Mars, planet of war and aggression. I don't believe that's always the case. It is the planet that says, I am here, I am ready to go, whatever that might be. So if you look at that energy and you really are tuned into the fire, then Tuesday might be a good day to do your workings. But there's also a lot more that goes into play than just knowing the day of the week's energy. It's your relationship with the zodiacs. Do you know your own astrology? Because for me, I have Mars in Aries. I can get things started in a second. I can push myself to the edge to get something going well beyond what is healthy for me. And for me, Mars can be my shadow. I completely go inward and give up rather than try. That would be the shadow of that. So if you just know the days of the week and you don't know your own natal astrology, then you might experience Tuesday. You might be saying, why did that witch tell me that Tuesday is the best day to do a spell? And for me, it seems like I feel like giving up on Tuesday. Well, that witch didn't tell you to look at your natal chart. And this is why I tell people there's so much more to living your life as a witch, and you're not going to learn it all in a day. I have been a witch all of my life. I started practicing magic the wrong way in high school by cursing and hexing. And when I hit 28 years old, when I went through my Saturn return, I cast all religion out of my life and came out of the broom closet as a witch and started living my life as that. Now I'm 20 plus years out of the broom closet, and I'm still learning every day. And that's the thing. And why I call myself or my business Mystic Witch is because I believe, one of the definitions of mystic is the only thing the mystic knows is they know nothing at all. And I feel like that's the way I live my life. I am in a constant quest or seek for truth and for what would be hidden information in our society to find the truth of our origins. And so as a mystic and a witch, I never believe that I have all the answers. I believe your craft is your own, that you are a sovereign individual, and that it's up to you to study, to practice. Practice is what gives you that experience to, thank you for the gifts. It's what gives you that experience to steer your own craft. If you want somebody to give you a rule book as a witch, you need to be a witch as a witch that's part of Wicca. The reason I'm not part of Wicca, I have all the respect for Wicca, because I believe we wouldn't be sitting here today online safely like we are if they didn't fight for our freedom as witches. But they had to create the craft as something that would fit into the religious structures box. And so Wicca has these set structures, a high priest and a high priestess. Like, I lived that life of religion with somebody telling me what was right or wrong and how to do things my whole young life until I was 28. I didn't want that. What do you want? If you want that, if you need someone telling you what to do, I'd suggest to go to Wicca. I teach witches to stand in their sovereignty, but I also give them the foundation that I have found I wish was the foundation that I had when I started practicing, because in the late 80s, 90s, I'm just reading books and casting spells. I think in modern days, what's happening, nobody's reading books. They're going on TikTok and they're like, I've always been drawn to witchcraft. I'm going to look up witches, search bar, witch, search spell, search abundance spell. And they look at the spell and they start casting the spells, not having any information on what it is they're doing. They've never connected with the plant spirits. They've never connected with the stars. They aren't even connected with their own physical body or the earth. And so is what they're doing going to work or not? It's like a toss of the dice. People might have things work, they might not. What books do I recommend? One, I recommend older books. I recommend because of what I learned with, but I recommend To Ride a Silver Broomstick for someone who wants like the basic, like what actually do witches believe and what are they practicing? That's by Silver Ravenwolf. If you want to go deeper into the history of witchcraft, The ABCs of Witchcraft by Doreen, I can never say her last name. Someone needs to tell me how to say it. Like, phonetically give me I always have to look at it because my husband's middle name and his dad's name is Valente. And the way I read her name, like at first glance, I want to say Valente, but I don't think that's how you say her name. It's Doreen or Darlene. I'm looking for the book on my bookshelf right now. Why can I never remember her name? Oh, it's right in front of me. Doreen, I swear, it looks like Valiente or Valente, but spelled slightly different than my husband's name. So that one gets more into historical context, may go way over a beginner witch's head. That's why I give you like, it depends on where you're at and who you are as a person. Like, are you going deep? Or do you just want to understand what it is a witch is doing? Again, I have classes online. All of them are linked in my bio. Practical Magic for the Beginner Witch or Way of the Witch are the two classes that I would suggest someone starting with. The Way of the Witch is the in-depth. It really gives you the shadow work, the spell work, working with energy. And that's what I was talking about earlier was, so much of New Age spirituality has influenced witchcraft, just like the old occult, magician, sorcery, Golden Dawn type things have entered witchcraft. I have gone through it all, looked at it, practiced a lot of it, decided what fit for me and what doesn't fit for me. Most witches have heard of the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, and I haven't taught that yet in any of my courses because you are working with archangels. And for myself, I don't really work with archangels because to me they're connected to Christianity, and I don't want to work with anything that is connected to Christianity. I do work with spirits. I have a very powerful spirit guide. I have a team that I believe, because of my mission on this planet, I came in with a team that never let me get too far off course, if that makes sense. I have a protector spirit who is a black man. It's interesting because several mediums and psychics who've read me over the years have picked up on him. I think sometimes when people are intimidated by me, they feel his presence in preceding me. Like, I believe he is my 100% protector from another life we shared together, and he has vowed to protect me in this life. He came in my adult years, and so I believe we all have spirit teams, and I think depending on what our purpose is in this life and what we're doing, the spirits that we're working with on a daily basis, maybe we're aware of them, maybe we're not. This is a free will planet, and I think our soul is learning through seeing the evolution of the human experience. And so the soul can have push, and I believe the soul can actually turn everything around for you in a blink if it wants to. The soul knows exactly what it wants to experience. Our human self doesn't always agree with what our soul thinks is best for us. And I have a very clear understanding in my own life that, like, I even, like, allow myself to have both experiences. Like, my human self is pissed right now. My human self wants to do this. My soul, my higher self, and I believe my soul is different than my higher self. My higher self is part of it's part ego, because the higher self is the soul communicating with the mind. And so there's this point, if I were to draw you a diagram where the soul is like infiltrating information into the mind, and the mind, the ego's absorbing it, and before it pulls it down and in and processes it through the lens of your life experience, there's that higher self knowing of, oh, I know why this is happening. I see what this is teaching me. And then my human self processes it and is like, oh, fuck that. That girl thinks she's going to curse me. Let me show her who she is fucking with. Like, and then that's my ego that's like, boom, boom, boom. Like, you're going to get it. And then that kind of quieter, like, hey, do you remember when this consciousness first hit your mind? That's higher self. Higher self is like both ego and human. Now, if I'm talking over soul, I'm talking my soul beyond this physical vessel. And then beyond that would be source, creator. But I also believe creator and source is part of our soul. And so I don't believe that, like, so many witches have allowed Christianity to influence their craft. And I see why that happened, because I'm sitting back watching another version of that happen today. I'm so excited, you guys, for Practical Magic 2. I feel like everyone loves that movie right now, the first Practical Magic. They're so excited for Practical Magic 2. But I also feel like for those of us who were watching that movie before anyone else watched it back in 99, or 98, or like when we read the book, like I have the first like edition book. That movie means something else, but through all the hype around it and the pop culture spirituality around crystals and tarot cards, we're watching what happened to the witch in the late 18th century, 19th century. We're watching what happened there happen on a different level. And, you know, I can see the light and the shadow in it. I can see the word witch making women feel empowered. I'm all about women feeling empowered, empowering women on, like, all women. I am for all women rising up and taking their power back, regardless of what they believe. But also, are you an actual witch? Do you know what that means when you're saying that? Or are you just jumping on a trend or a bandwagon? And I hope that even if the movie excites you, that you actually explore what that means to you if you want to call yourself a witch. Because being a witch is more than pulling tarot cards. It's more than doing a spell. It's more than being an herbalist. And it's more than even being a medium. It is a way of living your life and opening yourself and connecting yourself to the unseen realms. Now, because you are open to those unseen realms and connected to the earth, that will make you a stronger medium, a stronger herbalist, a stronger spellcaster, a stronger, what else did I put in that list? Tarot card reader, scryer, anything else that you're doing. And that's why I'm saying not just doing one of those things means you're actually a practicing witch. There's probably a witch in you that is like, I actually want to do this, but mainstream media is making us think that being a witch should be fast food, that you should be able to read a book and know exactly how to practice the craft. The history is too tangled. It's a tangled web that we have to weave through, and there are dimensional realities, and you start opening yourself up to them. And at the beginning of this, we were talking about the different realities and the veils being thin. We are coming into the time of the year when the veils are thin. That's accessible for everybody, for all humans. I do believe, the physical anatomy carries a specific energetic frequency, just like metal carries a different frequency than wool. Like, everything has a different frequency. So the womb in somebody that was born with a womb is different than somebody who was born with without a womb and has what we would call a hora. There's still an energetic frequency here in what I call the womb space, but for someone that wasn't born with a womb, it's called a hora. And I think the reason that women historically have been oppressed, and I do believe the history of women is so oppressed because patriarchy had to completely wipe out our history to be patriarchy. And they did it through fear and war consciousness, rape consciousness, and to where we've lost what was a huge part of our history, and that is matriarchal times when the goddess was revered. And we see remnants of it in paganism, in occult teachings. And when I say paganism, I mean paganism meaning pre-conversion of Christianity and the way people lived, not what we see paganism now. Because paganism now is a bunch of different religions. So when I say I'm kind of a pagan witch, I'm meaning I practice the old ways to the best of my ability. I lean into what pre-conversion of Christianity still has left us, what very little there is left there. But I believe those matriarchal times that we have, I don't want to say we have zero history of it, because if you read the book When God Was a Woman, there's she lays out in that book that, actually I think it's a male author, When God Was a Woman, lays out all the history that we actually have that is not accepted, that shows there was an actual matriarchal time, pre-patriarchal times, but it's not accepted, it's not in our history books. But there is so much proof, historical proof, that they've found on this earth that wasn't completely destroyed, but yet it's not accepted. Now I think that during that time, and when I say all women have a little witch in them, I'm not saying you're an actual witch. I'm saying I should say all women have a little magic in them. I'm actually going to change my terminology, because I don't believe we all have a little witch in us. I believe we all have a little magic in us, and a little more magic, what we would refer to as magic if you were born with a womb. It doesn't matter with gender identification. It's more about the frequency of the body part. So our different body parts hold different frequencies. Just like I was saying, like the metal of this necklace has a different frequency than the wool of this hat, which has a different frequency than the rose, if that makes sense. So the phallus has a different energy frequency than the yoni. And so that would make someone with a womb feel that draw to anything magical, because it's part of what you came onto this planet with, that is energetically influencing your life. Now, to live your life as a witch, just like they wiped out the matriarchal times, they wiped out the witch. So all we've got is bits and pieces. And now we have a witch that is practicing so many things that are actually influenced by Christianity, because you couldn't be a witch or you'd be killed. So if you were a witch, you started using scriptures as incantations. And I'm coming into this era saying, okay, people, we don't need to use scriptures as incantations anymore. Let's get rid of that. Let's look at what the Golden Dawn, who was highly influenced by male energy, let's look at that and find the roots of what is truth there, of what needs to be practiced there, and get rid of the rest. I'm very connected to the other worlds, very connected to the spirit realms, but I'm also very analytical, I guess you could say, and realistic, because there's a part of me that wants truth. I'm not about jumping on a bandwagon. I want truth. I want to dig up what is hidden. And I know there's many of you out there that are feeling the same thing. It's like, why did I come into this human body? Why am I on this earth? Why am I living this life? Why do I have to feel sad today and happy tomorrow? And why does sad feel so much worse than happy? And why do these synchronistic things happen if we're just dead and gone in the dirt? Why do these seemingly bizarre things happen that you can just not make sense of happen? That's what I'm searching for. That's what I'm looking for. And I do believe from my own life lived experience, there are, just like I was saying, like the TV example, like it's not just Family Feud playing all day long. It's not just ABC playing all day long. There are 100,000s of different channels out there that you can tune into. You just have to do the work to tune into them. And the work does not actually feel like work. It feels like joy when you are a witch. It feels like you can't get enough of it quick enough. And yet you also have to give yourself time and know that you're not behind if you've just realized today on this live that, hey, actually I'm a witch. I think I might be a witch and I need to figure out what that means. And so it's like, know that you are not too late, you're not too far behind, and you didn't miss your soul's purpose or your soul's path. It's just now was the time that your soul said, you're ready. So I'm not here to proselytize or preach like a Christian would. I don't believe everyone came into this life to walk the path of the witch. I do believe a lot of the things that witches are relatively have a strength in, a lot of witches would call that their gifts. I think a lot of humans, even Christian people, have those same abilities. That's why I don't call them gifts. Gifts imply that only you have it and no one else does. And I actually believe everyone has these abilities. It's part of the human path. It's just you aren't open. You haven't worked on opening that channel, turning that channel on. You haven't paid for Netflix per se. So, if you want that, where do you begin? It's not with the spell work. And I don't mean to put anyone down when I say, someone was asking, what's the best day to do a spell? It's like, you should stop doing spells. And I don't mean to say that in a rude way. I mean, it's time to slow down and connect with what is actually influencing the spell that you're doing. Because, when you hear witches say, as above, so below, as within, so without, there is a reason we are saying that. Because what is below and what is above is influencing what's right here. That doesn't mean heaven and hell. Okay, our Christian program minds immediately go to heaven or hell or the underworld and the summerland. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the physical earth and the stars and the planets in the sky. These two have the most energetic pull on what it is you are doing intentionally. So if you haven't worked with at least the moon, witches should begin with understanding the moon and the earth's seasonal cycles and exploring the conditioning and programming that is in them and how that conditioning and programming has been influenced. So many of us, even myself, will say, oh my God. Like my great-grandmother used to say, oh my Lord. And so when I grew up, even though my grandmother had passed when I was 15, I noticed when I got older, I started saying, oh my Lord. And I was like, my great-grandmother is actually speaking through me right now. We have that happening on multiple levels. What we fear Could be our great grandfather down the road that we didn't know that same DNA was really influencing us. And so connecting into our own energetic frequency, what truths we're walking with, what programs we're walking with, connecting to the seasonal shifts and changes of our earth, connecting to the shifts and seasonal changes that happen energetically because of the planetary movements. Where do you believe you came from? Are you still on that wavelength of Adam and Eve? Like, there's so many stories out there other than Adam and Eve. Most people haven't even researched agnosticism. You know, all religion, it was meant to control people. It is structured to control people. Even Wicca, because they have this high priest, high priestess that you have to like bow down to. You know, I've had women, such beautiful, lovely women, come to different events I've held and try to bow to me and do things like that. And it's like, you know, I'm playing the role of the high priestess here because I'm putting this together, but in no way am I above anyone. I'm right here with you. I'm just the one leading the circle. And I think that's where we need to go as a collective, is to stop placing our power outside of us, giving it to a guru, giving it to a priest or a priestess, giving your power away in any form has turned our world into what it is today. And so somehow we have to have that foundation. This is exactly what I'm trying to make possible with the way I teach in the world, is that how can we have a structure in witchcraft and not have that structure control? And I think that's what we need on our planet as a whole. And that's why, you know, often you'll hear me say, I think religion needs to go. You know, I'm used to, my entire life, I've had a different outlook. And I used to let it hurt my feelings when I would share that outlook when I was younger. If I said, I see, you know, and when I say I see, like people, my husband, people in my everyday life, I've come to realize as an adult, they're not seeing what I'm seeing. And so I can't get offended by their response to me. Or if I get offended, it's my choice to get offended because they're not in the same realm as me. So when I say that, you know, as a young person, one of the first strong knowings I had was that religion was a bunch of BS and we shouldn't be eating meat. And I would tell people, this is, you know, I see a day where there is no religion. And my husband is like, I remember one day we were driving down the road specifically. I don't know why we're always driving in these memories. And the kids were in the car and he's like, there is no fucking way, Harmony. And he's like, and I'm like, there is a way. I'm not sure if it's happening in my lifetime, but it is happening on this planet. I see it. And I understand when I say I see it, to other people that means that they can visualize it. When I say I see it, it's like I'm in a different frequency than you. I'm not visualizing this. I'm seeing this as a possibility for planet Earth. And so I used to get so offended when my husband would like say this stuff to me, because I was like, are you telling me that I am out of my mind, you know? And then when I would feel so much for the animals and the way we take their power away, again, you know, my husband was like, when I first decided to go vegetarian and vegan, he was like, this is always going to be difficult. You will never have fast food with vegan options. You will, unless it's French fries. And even the French fries at McDonald's, he knew had beef powder on them, so I couldn't even eat the French fries. And I'm like, no, I see that being a potential on our planet. Now, here we are 14 years later, and my husband actually eats probably 80% vegetarian now. He's not completely vegetarian, but he's definitely more on board with me, and I remind him all the time of that time I told him that we were heading towards this, because we are. And the thing we have to remember is it takes the people who can see what the other people can't as a possibility to shift the collective frequency in that direction. It doesn't matter if everyone else can see that yet or not, because likely when you are a seer and you are truly tuned in, you're going to see and feel and get information that is not highly accepted. Why is that? Because you wouldn't be getting that information if everybody already agreed with you. The reason we have that information coming in and being seen by these people is because the way they live their life. It's not because I cast spells. It's because of the amount of time I spend in silence and solitude in my days. It is because of the energy I feed my body that I am open to seeing and receiving information that other people aren't receiving. What humanity is feeding their body on a daily basis, and I am not completely energetically where I should be with what I eat, but I have not ate an ounce of meat for 14 years, maybe more than 14 years now. I was saying 13 years for so long that I realized actually it's more than 13 years. And then I was like, how long has it been? 14, 15? I don't know. But I have not eaten meat. Dairy has been like a slow weaning process. I'm almost completely there. I will still now and then, if it's not convenient, eat pizza with cheese on it if I'm somewhere and there's just no other option. But I will never, ever, ever eat meat. But quite honestly, the energy of dairy is also consuming energy and suffering of the worst type. And so that's why I'm basically like, food has been a thing for me. Food, I actually weighed 100 pounds more than I weigh now. Well, actually over 100 pounds more than what I weigh now. In my 20s, I used food as a coping mechanism, the way people drink, and it was due to the trauma that I experienced growing up. And so even though I have healed that through shadow work, I still have this relationship with food that, you know, it's just one of those things that, you know, nobody's perfect, right? Food has been a struggle for me. So if it's depending on where I'm at with my life, I can most often easily just not eat. But sometimes if I'm under a lot of stress and I go to an event and there's only something like cheese pizza, then I'll eat the cheese pizza. I would rather starve than actually eat meat. Because I know energetically how that influences me, and also I am not going to play a part in the suffering of what they're doing to animals on this planet. But those things, and I'm not here to preach veganism to people, but I know that was a step on my path I had to take, because I wouldn't be able to be who I am if I couldn't access those realms. And I personally could not access the realms that I was meant to access when I was ingesting energy of pain and suffering. Like, when you're nourishing your body with the energy of pain and suffering, you're likely, often, you know, when we're working with spirits, there's this fine line. You know, science has proved it, that a lot of times meditation will open up parts of your brain that is just more visual and creative. And so likely people often will meditate and they're just opening up the part of their brain that is more visual, and the mind comes up with visual frequencies that match what you're being guided by. And people will often think, I'm talking to Hecate, or I'm talking to this person. And it's, you know, I'm not here to say you are or you aren't, but that's where I'm like, you need to be realistic with your craft, because there's many frequencies, many entities and energies who will make you think that they are Hecate. Now, if you're nourishing your body with pain and suffering and you call Hecate, is Hecate really the one who's going to show up? Your energy field is full of pain and suffering. So as you're calling in these other energies, you're calling Hecate, but that doesn't mean Hecate is going to come. Have you ever called her before? Have you ever worked with her? I'm not going to yell across the street to my neighbor and expect them to come walking across the street to me. You develop relationships with people. Even if I'm drawn to somebody, I'm not just going to like expect them to come when I call. We have to develop relationships with the higher frequencies, because often, a lot of times, you know, these visuals are healing. They're messages from the unconscious mind. So I'm not dismissing them, but a lot of people feel like they're communicating with other realms, and really they're maybe communicating with their higher self, entities, spirit guides. You know, we don't know who or if they're actually communicating with anything. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm teaching you to doubt everything that's coming into your field. What I do teach people is to energetically do the best that you can with the information that you have now. Doing the best that you can will, within itself, lift your frequency up, and your abilities will open. And that's why, you know, I can access what I access, even though here and there I eat ice cream or something with cheese in it. That's why I can't 100% say I'm not vegan. Also, I realized the other day when I was meditating that my favorite pair of tennis shoes are leather. And I was like, that's wearing suffering on my body. So also, I became informed. I don't know why I didn't know this. I guess I'm an idiot because I didn't know this, but silk is made of silkworms. They actually boil them alive to get them to come out of their cocoon. So I have a bonnet that is silk that I wear, and I didn't realize that they boiled the worms alive. I will never buy a silk bonnet again because I think that's horrible. I think that we could use this. You know, there's so many things that we do as humans that are just so fucked. And it's like, wait for the worms to come out of their silk cocoon rather than boil them alive to get them out so you can make more silk products. Like, we can utilize these animals, you know, the leather from a cow, if the cow passed naturally, in my opinion. The fact that we kill to have leather shoes, it's part of rape consciousness. Now, I'm calling myself out as much as I'm calling everyone out, but I also am doing the best I can as I awaken to these things. And your human self is going to have a phase of integration. So again, like I was talking in the beginning, don't feel like you're too far behind. Don't feel like you're wrong if you're not 100% vegan. You know, there's this girl I follow on Instagram. She's a vegan, and she's all about like doing the freaking best that you can, because there are a lot of vegans online that are just about bashing everyone, and I'm not here to bash you or make you feel less than. I am all about the animals and the suffering and their sovereignty, but I also recognize that by not eating it, there is actually a spiritual benefit. And this is why, you know, historically, even if you look at the Bible, which I don't believe in the Bible, but, you know, they talk about Jesus going into, where does he go? The Garden of Gethsemane, or he goes and he fasts for how many days? I don't know. The further I get away from Christianity, I used to be able to like spout this stuff off because I was raised in it. It's been so long now, the stories are kind of blurring, but even he fasted. And I believe the reason that they fasted was because energetically you open to more when you are not full of another energy, even if it's plant energies. So oftentimes when I'm doing a really deep ceremony, like when we do the ritual of the Sphinx at Practical Magic, I always have us have dinner later that night. And I know everyone's like, oh, I'm starving. But when you are hungry, there is a space that food takes up in you spiritually. And so with eating a little later, going into that ceremony, if you stop focusing on your physical hunger and realize that that is space within you spiritually that can open up, you know, your energetic frequency, and it's going to carry that spell or request or whatever you're doing further than if you came into it on a full stomach. And you know, there's different levels of spiritual understanding, and we don't all have to be at that same level. I work with someone who, you know, she has a physical condition where blood sugar drops, and she needs to eat at certain times so that she can remain okay. And, you know, if that's the case for you, then do what you need to do. But even when you go into, say, an ayahuasca ceremony, they have you eating a specific diet for a month in advance. They even want you to abstain from watching TV and sex a lot of times, because energetically, all of these things are changing you. Here's Kitty. Why don't you jump on my lap? Why do you jump behind me? So, you know, I say these things not to judge anyone, but to open your mind to, you know, there's a lot of people out there who are like, I want to access these realms. And it's like, do you really? What are you willing to do? If you want Netflix, are you willing to pay $19.99 a month? If you want to consort with spirits, are you willing to take time in silence every day? Are you willing to change your diet? What is your willingness? And it doesn't make you wrong or right. There's, you know, a transition point that we all have to go through. I don't expect you to just go vegan overnight. It can be a difficult change as you learn to cook differently and you find what options are at different places. But it's also about what you're doing spiritually daily. Are you banishing every day, or are you protecting yourself every day, or are you casting a circle every day? Because if you're banishing every day, and then you might be, and you're protecting every single day, you might be boxing yourself in with protection that no spirit's going to get through to you. If you're casting a circle every day, you're actually creating a protective circle and inviting in the spirits that work with you on a higher level. So, you know, there's so much to explore spiritually that it needs to become part of your everyday life if you want to be able to do these things. Now, do some people eat and drink and do all these things and have access to the spirit world? Absolutely. Because some people are born onto this planet and can sing like an angel, and they've never had a singing lesson in their life. Can we all sing? Yes, we can. If you want to become a singer and you weren't born singing like an angel, then you can learn with a teacher. It's the same thing with witchcraft, is that there's a lot of avenues you may want to open yourself up to. No witch is a master of every single avenue. So let yourself off the hook. Like, you don't have to be a perfect wand maker or a perfect wood burner or, you know, spellcaster. We all have different abilities. You're not going, just because you are walking the path of the witch, don't expect yourself to be a master at every one of these things. We all have natural abilities that we come into this life with, that we are naturally strong we have a natural inclination towards. And the other things we can learn and open ourselves up to. When I'm giving you ideas like how you eat every day, spending time in silence every day, these are things that will open you up to being able to do that. And everyone thinks like the ultimate goal is being a psychic and being a medium. I know I could very easily walk that path, but to me, that path is not everything. It's not what is healing this planet. And the more I walk this path, the more I open to those other realms, the more I can see. And actually for myself, there's a heaviness of walking with that, because it doesn't mean, like, my ego doesn't need to be stroked by giving you a reading so that you can see how psychic I am or see that I can connect to this person or that person. It's actually like a very seeing what humanity isn't willing to see. It means walking a path on this life that is full of suffering and pain, and you can't do anything about it, but you know it's a simple change. And that's a heaviness you have to learn to walk with. For me, that makes me structure my path to empowering and helping women. So that's why I hold retreats and do the online school and all of that. What do you think of antidepressants or other pharmaceuticals? I have a lot of opinions about that. I'm not a doctor, so this is not meant for medical advice. I personally, because of the trauma I experienced in my younger years, I was on a high amount of antidepressants in my 20s, to the point where I didn't feel anything. I went through a period getting off of those where it was really, really hard when I was around 28. And when I got off them, I was so opposed to antidepressants that it was like I went on this whole other, it was like I grew up with a lot of natural ways in my home. My mom was very natural. I mean, the witchy side of the family was very natural, and my grandmother on my dad's side was very natural. So there was a lot of holistic things. I was suffering so much emotionally and mentally in my early 20s. I went the pharmaceutical route, and like I had so many symptoms. I don't know what I thought. I was going crazy. They had me on so many antidepressants, and getting off them was so difficult. I went the complete opposite extreme and was like, I 100% do not believe in anything pharmaceutical, blah, 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 only natural. And then I realized like I healed my body so much. But at that point, I recognized that there was something still really wrong with me, that I wasn't an actual hypochondriac. Like I had some physical symptoms that I was the first one diagnosed in my family with something that is a genetic disorder, like a genetic mutation. And I inherited it from my father. And so they thought there was certain people on my father's side of the family that were hypochondriacs, and actually we have this genetic mutation that makes your muscles deteriorate. And so during that time period, I became more of an advocate for balance between Western and Eastern medicine, what I would call Western and Eastern. And so here's the thing, I think that our medical system is broken, that a lot of what we are prescribing people antidepressants for is true depression from trauma, and we need therapy. And I believe that, you know, there's been times in my life where I didn't want to be on this planet, and it took a small dose of an antidepressant to pull me out of that. And when you have a lot of trauma in your background, you might need that here or there. I don't say just, it's, you know, when you go to the doctor, they make you think you have a chemical imbalance, but they can't test you for that. They can't test you for the imbalance they're going to give you the antidepressants for, yet they're taking a list of symptoms that could mean you have 100 other things and just calling it clinical depression. I think anyone that is on an antidepressant needs to go to a therapist and talk things out. It's not that those things can't be helpful, but they can turn off a lot of your psychic abilities and stuff. But if you are someone that truly has a disorder that requires those medications, and I don't think a list of symptoms is going to tell your doctor that, but your doctor's going to tell you that you have the imbalance. But ask them. They can't test your blood. So be careful with it, because, you know, some people actually can benefit and have, they are more online, more able to help people when they are taking small doses of pharmaceuticals. You know, I take a thyroid pill every day. I have no judgment over that thyroid pill. None of the natural thyroid pills work for me. I have to take the pharmaceutical thyroid pill. That's going to be the case with antidepressants for some people. Just make sure, in my opinion, that you're always seeing a therapist and that you're always on the lowest actual dose that you need, because I think what we are diagnosing people with as depression is just, we're walking with a lot of shit. A lot of shit. A lot of grief, a lot of pain, a lot of anguish, a lot of repressed feelings and emotions, and we need to talk to someone. Mental health care should be free, because it's hard to live on this planet. So I am an advocate for both types of medicine in our lives. You use whole foods and herbs. That's beautiful. I wish I could treat myself fully naturally, but I have to take my heart meds. Same thing. You know, I have myotonic dystrophy. There's nothing I can do about it. It's, you know, I believe all disease begins in energetic form. So even something that you have, if you've inherited it, like me, like I inherited this gene mutation, I believe the symptoms that I experience will be in direct energetic match to what I've energetically worked through or not worked through in my life emotionally, if that makes sense. So I don't believe that we should only treat something with herbs holistically. I don't believe we should treat things with just pharmaceuticals like Western medicine. And I don't think we should treat it with just therapy. I think all medical issues need, every single one of them, need a therapist, a natural doctor, and a Western medicine doctor. So that's my opinion on that, just from what I've been through in my life and what I've seen. So do you guys have any other questions for me? It looks like it's gonna rain outside. Tap the heart button, you guys. Like the live. We've been on here an hour and 20 minutes. I often cast a circle depending on what the chat is doing. Not sure if I'm going to do that today or not. How many of you have been here in the past for my circle castings? So there are different ways that you can cast a circle. Often witches cast a circle to do their spell work in. They put out candles, physical objects, They either stand in the center of the circle or in the different directions, and they cast the circle to do the spell work in for protection. I do that. I also cast a circle that is an energetic circle, and this is my form of protection. I cast this circle every day. It's either before I fall asleep at night or first thing when I wake up in the morning in my head. Kind of like someone who says a prayer in their head. That's what I do with my circle casting. I say it in the morning because I cast my circle a bit different than most witches who cast in the 4 directions. I cast in 8 directions. I have a deity I work with in each direction. And so I cast that circle daily and ask that the circle be closed in a certain period of time. And I don't speak Spanish, sorry. And that circle is a circle of empowerment and protection. So it's like my energetic protection daily. You close your aura at night. We all have these interesting practices. I haven't been live in so long. I don't think I've talked this long in a long time. My brother-in-law was here. I found a red hawk, a blue jay feather in the last months. When you find things like that and you know like it's calling for you, you feel it. I mean, we can't walk around in our life thinking everything's a sign, but I feel like we feel it when it's a sign. We know. You know, just like that Salem came in and pulled that raven feather down. She was just letting me know, or he, Salem's a boy, not a girl, letting me know that there was someone on the live that didn't intend me well. So I listened to Steve Noble Meditations, who used 6, I think. Yeah, everybody has, thank you, Allie, a different way of doing it. Every culture has a different way of doing it, and some people even believe like it depends on where you live. Like a lot of us witches are casting with the traditional Celtic casting, but depending on where you live, is the water in the west or is the water somewhere else? It does seem like water is always placed in the west from the different studies that I've done and people I've worked with, but it seems like earth, air, and fire are interchangeable in all of them. I've had a Native American teacher and a teacher from, I think she's from Peru. I'm like, is it Portugal or Peru? Anyway, I haven't worked with her in so long, but both of them had a different way of casting the circle. And even my Native American witch mentor, you know, she was from Chalagi, Cherokee, long-haired clan, and she told me every clan will cast in a different, like, call the directions of their medicine wheel in different directions. So it was very confusing for me for a while to work with her because of the way she seen the directions in comparison to how I worked with the directions. So it's really about what, you know, where you live, the culture you're coming from, and there's no right or wrong. And that's why, you know, the witches that come online and they're like, you can't do this and you can't do that, and you know, it's like, why are we putting all these rules on something that is supposed to give you freedom and autonomy and sovereignty? I need to turn my air conditioner on. I don't know why I'm so warm. Oh, I do know why I'm so warm. So as far as joining my online virtual coven, my classes online, or my retreats, I work with women or transgender women only. That is my work in the world, is to create safe spaces for women for healing trauma. I teach spell work and all the witchy things, but all of everything I teach is all based, thank you, Eclectic Goddess, I do need some water, It's all based in shadow work and healing, because I think that is something the collective just wants to kind of bypass, because we all love fast food and we all want Amazon to deliver today and all of that kind of thing. And, you know, we don't want to put in the work, and you cannot bypass the pain and suffering that is happening on this planet, especially if you want to be a powerful witch. Maybe I will go grab my water and turn my air conditioning on. I kind of want to take this off because I'm hot. I'll be right back. Don't leave me. Okay, now I feel naked. I'll put that back on in a minute. So I got my drink in this cup because I wanted to show you guys. So I do hair one day a week. The girl I do hair for at her salon, her name is Jess, and she got me these cups for Christmas. Aren't they adorable? So always do that. Is anybody else a pinky drinker, to where no matter what you drink, your pinky sticks out? Thank you for moderating for me, you guys. Margie is a priestess in my virtual coven. And her and Rebecca are, I don't know if Rebecca's on here, but I have an app that's just for those that are taking my courses. So when I'm not there, they are there. They're a big part of serving the community that we've created and protecting that space to be safe for everyone to share. So if you haven't followed Margie, go follow her. I actually met Margie on a live. And yeah, I definitely have spent lifetimes with her. So many women that are attracted to my work when I meet them in person, or it's like, oh, I know you. I've been in many lifetimes with you. But I think that happens a lot. We have soul contracts. So it's thundering outside. I don't know if you guys can hear that on the live, but it's monsoon season here. So my practical magic retreat, you guys, I don't know if you have not followed me yet, follow me. What you see in my videos, most of it, 99% of it is videos from retreats I hold. And I hold a practical magic retreat and a Salem retreat. The Salem retreat I host with Stella, Witch of the Moon, one of my soul sister, the other half of my soul. And every year I hold practical magic with Margot from Herbal Goddess Healing. And so we have one space left for practical magic this year. If you want to join us, it's in Sedona, Arizona. It's a magical 5 days, and everything comes with that retreat. We stay together as a group, we practice magic day and night, herbalism, we all sleep in the same house together, and we have a private chef who cooks all the meals for us. There's a cemetery nearby, so we walk to the cemetery And you just get to be your witchiest self and connect with other like-minded women and work on healing that witch wound, the wound of women who, you know, all of us women, I was talking to Margie just yesterday about this, a lot of us women have trust issues with other women because we as women are projecting on each other so much. And it's so toxic. And so by gathering together at retreats, we're attempting to heal those wounds and come together in a good way. And there have been many, many women who have created lifelong friendships and connections by coming to our retreats. But if you have any questions about like what you're seeing in the videos that I post online, this would be your chance to ask those questions. So I'm here to answer. Usually I have to have 100,000 likes on the live before I will cast a circle before I get off. So if that's something you guys want me to do, I don't always see all of the comments because I'm recording from my phone. I know people sometimes get offended because I am not answering. If I'm not answering, it's usually because I'm not seeing it, because if I am on a laptop, I guess I would see all the comments because I've had my daughters sit on the floor below me, but they're adults and live on their own, so they're not here all the time when I do my lives. But a few times they were sitting on the floor looking at a laptop and it was showing them things I don't see on my phone. So I just want you to know I'm not always seeing exactly every comment. You truly make amazing sisterhood connections at the retreat. Oh, I love you, Margie. You're such a big part of that community. Right in front of me right now, now I'm cold. Right in front of me, I have like a shit ton of boxes because I'm getting ready for practical magic. I've got like a bunch of Ouija boards, everything's stacked here because in my other room where we'll do like put together my apothecary items and all of that. My brother-in-law's staying with us, and so all my boxes came back in my room here. But I've got all these antique Ouija boards, which I don't know how I went from just having one antique Ouija board to now having, I've got 4. So we take these to the retreat and do readings. Actually, Margie gifted me with one of the Ouija boards. And so now we'll have an antique Ouija board we have 4 tables at the retreat, and on Samhain we do a group reading through the boards. So we will have 4 this year. Each table will have an antique board. I'm so excited about that. Hi, Princess of Dragons. Oh, is Jess on here? Hi, Jess. Are you using your oil? So if you guys haven't checked out my apothecary, I have bath salts I make. I sent Jess some oil for her hair that I make. Yes, yay! I have bath salts, rose water, rose tincture. I have oils, like warding oils, things like that. You know what? Somebody's saying boards are not for play. They are not what people think they are because of what Hollywood tells you they are. There are many divination tools that have just as much potential as a Ouija board. That mirror on my wall does. You know, we allow ourselves to be programmed through fear. It's kind of sad how much our society is just programmed through fear, even witches, where they're like, oh, I'm a witch, but I won't mess with Ouija boards. Why? Witches walk between the worlds. If you are a practicing witch, you shouldn't have fear around any of that. You should have respect, protection. Of course you need to protect yourself. You wear a seatbelt when you get in your car, right? Same thing with practicing divination. You want to have your protection in place, and your protection is equivalent to what you're working with. You know, do you need a helmet when you're driving to work in the car? Probably not. You know, and your protection is going to be equivalent to the risk you're taking, right? If you're driving a race car in a race, maybe you need a helmet and all that, but you know, you got to think of your magic like that. You've got to stop coming from a place of fear and look at things logically, because your fear is keeping you from accessing your energetic potential. And the Ouija board, just like a scrying mirror, is such an easy way to connect with other realms. My husband and I have been doing the Ouija board a lot since the Salem retreat in May. He's always done the Ouija board with me for years and years. I've used a Ouija board since I was young. We've never had an issue in my house. I have Ouija boards, haunted dolls, all the things. And most people actually who come, even walking up to my house, I've had people say, wow, like even walking up to your house, there's like this peace that surrounds your house. Well, there's a lot of magic around my house that to make it that way. So, you know, where most people, if they came inside after feeling that peace and like your house is so pretty and your house feels this way and that way, and then I like get out the Ouija board, they're like, you know. And the Ouija board, the power is within you. It's not within the board. The board is just a tool. And why do they want you to fear connecting with spirits? Why? Because they don't want to get you to give your power away to yourself. They need you to think they're in power. Religion and government have always been intertwined. So does anybody have any other questions for me? Opinions on hexing. So there's a difference between hexing and cursing. Hexing is your energetic no, in my opinion. So I don't, we often lump hexing and cursing together because they're considered baneful magic. But you know what else is baneful magic? Love magic, glamour magic. Like anytime you're manipulating energy and taking sovereignty away from someone, you're kind of walking, we have like baneful magic and then regular magic, and then there's like this gray area, and it's like, I think glamour magic, love magic, and even hexing should be in that kind of gray area. Cursing is actually wishing harm on someone to stop them from doing something. I believe that hexing is more of the binding, cord cutting. It's your energetic no. Then the energetic, like, okay, I've actually got to get a gun out and shoot you to get you out of my house kind of energy. That's more what a curse is, where it's like, I'm going to handcuff you. I'm going to ground you, put you on ice, whatever it is, when you're hexing. And so I believe often people are hexing and they don't realize it. And I think that there is a place for it, but it's overused. I think that cursing, it is when you've ran out of all your other options. Let's put it that way. So I think a lot of times we give our power away with words like cursing and hexing, and so there needs to be more knowledge around why we don't need to do it before we learn how to do it, if that makes sense. And just your not believing in someone having power over you stops that curse from taking place. My cats are playing, like they're running in and out of these little boxes. They're like getting all low and hunting each other. It's super cute. Do you believe in demons? I do believe in demons. I believe they exist. I believe spirits exist, but I don't tune into the realm of demons. And my spirit team, the one guide I told you about earlier, if you were here when I was talking about him, he makes sure that nothing can touch me from that realm. And hi, Nevaeh. It's so good to see you. I love when the retreat sisters pop on and say hi. I am not a demonologist though, so I don't work with those realms. I do work with spirits often, frequently, but I think being a witch does not require you to work with demons, and so many people think working with demons means you're a witch. Anybody else have any other questions for me? So we decided to go to Salem again next year. Stella and I, which every time we've gone to Salem, other than the first time we went together, we were like, oh, we're going back and having a retreat. But I have to preface, before I went to Salem with Stella, I went by myself. And when I went by myself, I should speak for myself. When I went by myself in 2019, I was like, I have no reason to come back to Salem. And then I ended up going back with Stella. And then after that was the only time where I was like, oh yes, we have to come back and hold a retreat together. But I was a little like, I really don't, how am I going to handle the energy here for a week doing that type of work? After that retreat, I was like, nope, we're not coming back. And then we went again. And then after that one, it's like, nope, we're not going back. We were actually actively looking into going to Scotland and holding a retreat there. And then we realized like we really needed to use a company, which meant it wouldn't be until like 2028. So we're still kind of working on that to see if we can make that a thing. But it wouldn't be till 2028 until we could go to Scotland. And we're like, are we just not going to see each other in 2028 until 2028? That seems like too long because she lives in Australia. And so we were talking about, because the woman I hold practical magic with is becoming a medical, what do you call it? Like a naturopathic doctor. And so I think this will be her last year hosting practical magic. And so I was like, maybe you come host practical magic with me next year. But we just didn't feel like even that was the fit for some reason. So anyway, some different things happened, and it was like, okay, this is definitely telling us both we're supposed to go back to Salem again. But it's like, it was funny because I was like, okay, this is the decision, we put it out there. And then Stella, like, I think it was her husband or my husband, one of them counted the months and was like, yep, this is about the time, because it's every 9 months you hold a retreat. It is like 9 months. It's like giving birth to a baby, this project for us. We've just started to open up. Neither one of us felt like we were there in a past life, but there definitely is something there. And I think our avoidance to accepting that there was a life there is part of what is drawing us back there, if that makes sense. So we're going to be going to Salem again next year. And every time we do it, we're like, we don't know if there'll be another year, but maybe there will be. And maybe in 2028 we'll go to Salem and we'll go to Scotland. That would be amazing. I've never been to Scotland, so even the thought of holding a retreat in a country I've never been to feels a little bit terrifying. And that's why we were going with a company who would do all the legwork for us. But still, leading people through a country I've never been to seems, it's just outside my realm of what I've done, but it still might happen. Thank you, Kathleen. I am doing really good. How are you doing, Princess of Dragons? What about Jamaica? Here's the thing about different lands. I think the lands that we are drawn to are either connected to witchcraft in some way or are energetically potent in some way. So Sedona is right here near where I live, so it allows me to host a retreat that I can't host anywhere else in the world because I live and I've lived here since I was 5, so Sedona's like second home to me. So I know the land there, connected with the land, know where we can go, where we cannot go. I can drive trucks of yoni saunas and tents and things that I can't take to other retreats. I can bring to that retreat. I can decorate and make it a witchy wonderland and do all those things that I can't do when we're hosting in Salem. So Sedona really, it is a spiritually potent place. It only became known for being spiritually potent, I believe, in the 70s. What people don't talk about, it became known as spiritually potent through a psychic who is the one who I think brought up the idea that it was vortex land, and so it started like shifting the energy of that area and people were called for the spiritual reasons. But even earlier than that, Native Americans lived there, and Sedona doesn't acknowledge this in any of their museums that I've seen or anything, and they were driven out of there and Cottonwood, and in a really horrific way. So I think there's also a lot of, sadness on that land, but also that land was used by the Native Americans for a really long time, and their practices and ceremonies and rituals, were probably very strong in those areas. So, yeah, a lot of people don't even realize that it was only in the 70s that people started going to Sedona for the spiritual reasons per se, and that it was, I think it was a psychic that suggested the idea that there was vortexes there, and then I want to say someone, because of that, started holding like spiritual meditation groups or something, and then it just like expanded from there. Yay, 100,000 likes. So what are you thinking, Margie? What's the energy feeling like today in the chat? Shall we cast a circle? I do have some water. Thank you, Nevaeh. I went and got it earlier because my voice is getting crackly. You want me to cast a circle, Nevaeh? Yes, good to go. All right. Then we will cast a circle it is. Does anybody have any questions before we cast the circle about what that means or anything like that? Hi, Lilith. What it means, please. So, like I was saying earlier, witches cast a circle when they are doing spell work because it is a energetic boundary of protection, and most witches cast a circle using 4 directions, and they call in energies usually of the direction and an element, and sometimes you'll see witches putting candles in directions, different objects in directions, and they're holding that actual tangible space for spell work. So for me, when I'm casting a different type of circle, which is an energetic circle, I have a way that I cast in 8 directions, and I actually will say this directional casting either at night before I fall asleep or in the morning when I wake up in my head like a prayer. And so it's calling the directions, the elements, and a deity in each direction to create a circle around me energetically. And then I call the Earth Mother below me, the star brothers and sisters above me, and I bring myself to center. So I'm creating this almost like a bubble of energy around myself. And it's like taking it to the next level. You know, a lot of mediums and spiritual people will say, see a white light around you, see yourself in a bubble. Like, that is one form of protection. This way of energetically casting a circle is like taking that energetic bubble to the next level. I see the deities as archetypes that exist within me. I'm calling their energetic presence forth. I work with all 8 deities that I call here in this circle regularly. And so I call them in this circle casting and ask that the circle will remain in the sealed place until you lie your head down to sleep tonight, when the circle will be open but never broken. So, and I also lift the circle up to the 7th and 8th plane. So if you're partaking in the circle casting, you're lifting your level of consciousness up to the 7th and 8th plane, and from now until when you go to bed. So then saying the circle is open but never broken doesn't mean anything is energetically tied to you or attached to you. What that means is that the energetic threads are slowly dissipating so that you can integrate the wisdom that came in. And also when that circle closes, it brings the level of consciousness back down to normal. So tomorrow when you go to work or go through your day, you're not in this spiritually elevated, looking at the world from what could feel like for some people this very like up and out feeling. So we cast this circle in a meditative way. So I ask you to just close your eyes. If you've done it with me before, you're welcome to say the deity's name with me 3 times. When I say bless us as, we call your name, and I'll say the deity's name, and then I will chant it 3 times. This is done in a meditative state, so you can join me by going somewhere in your home where you will not be interrupted, where you can lie down or sit up. I want you from sit bone to crown of head to be straight. So if you're laying down, no legs crossed, no curling up in a ball. You want this energetic frequency, this line of energy right here open while we do this. So if you would like to join us, go somewhere where you can be in an uninterrupted place. I know a few witches who will join us when I'm live, and they wear their hats that are the wool hats that I saw online that are made by Stella, Witch of the Moon. So I'm going to shut my door to this room so I won't be interrupted. I'm going to have another drink of water, and we're going to cast our circle. You are welcome to just watch, or you're welcome to partake in it. If you are partaking in it, sit, close your eyes in a meditative state. When I say the deity's name, chant them with me 3 times. All right, I turned my light off, so because I'm feeling the light as energetic interference right now, so I'm turning the light off. I'm actually gonna put my hat on. So when I put my hat on, the hat is made of wool, so it is very grounding, and the point of the hat connects me to the cone of power, so it allows my channel to remain open even though my head is being veiled. So it's different than a typical veil that may close your energetic frequency. All right, so if you're lying down, make sure your spine is long. If you're sitting up, make sure your spine is long. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath in, out through the mouth, in through the nose, filling the body up with your breath until you can't take in any more air. Hold at the top, and then I want you to, before you exhale, notice how when you're full of all this energy, your shoulders might feel tight, your jaw might feel just tight, your lower back, your belly, your knees, your feet. Release any tension from your body, then part your lips and audibly exhale. And as you exhale, use the strength of your abdominal muscles to push out any stuck, stagnant air from the depths of your body that you've been holding. At the bottom of that breath, pause. Seal your lips. Slowly as you can, take in life force. Notice the air spiraling through your nostrils into your throat, feeling it move through your head, spiraling down your throat, into your lungs, expanding your belly, expanding your shoulders, healing the hips, bringing that breath all the way to the tips of your toes, holding at the top, noticing how you feel full of life force. Soften the body, part the lips, audibly exhale, using the strength of your abdominal muscles to press every last drop of stagnant air out of your body. Empty, pause, without breath, pause, and then relax. Let your breath come back to a natural rhythm and pace. Notice the feeling of your feet. Notice the feeling of the palms of your hands. Soften your lower back and your hips. Relax your jaw. As I call forth concentric circles of light to surround us now, across all time and space, connecting us through mountains, oceans, deserts, countries, rivers. We come together on an energetic plane, connected virtually through our shared combined intent. Notice the circles of light that surround you now. The color of light will show up differently for each of us. Soften your eyes, and with your eyes closed, notice the color that you are seeing. This is the color of concentric circles of light that unendingly are moving around you. Find yourself in the center of these circles of light. As I call forth the guardians of the watchtowers of the north, south, east, and west. Guardian of the north, keeper of earth, I invoke the elements and the spirits of earth to join us now. She who stands at the crossroads, torches in hands, flames ablaze in the darkness, highlighting the paths that in this season of eclipses are highlighted for you. She reminds you on this day that there are pathways that must crumble, that must cave in and collapse, that you must be willing to no longer hold on to, for the other roads to open and awaken. Keeper of the crossroads, she does not tell us which path to walk. She only exposes to us the shadow of holding on to the pathway that no longer serves, that is collapsing and deconstructing. And she highlights the paths of potential, that are open to you now, reminding you that you are never alone. Ravens, black dogs, serpents, they are your guides, even in the light of day. Bless us as we call your name. Hecate, 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 Hecate. Guardian of the northeast, keeper of the rising sun and sacred wells, igniting hope in all who partake in this circle this day, reminding you that there is always divine will and order even amongst the chaos. Reorient yourself to your surroundings. Stay in your center. Things are changing. Bless us as we call your name. Bridget, 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 Bridget. Guardian of the east, keeper of air, we invoke the elements and the spirits of air to join us now. Goddess of transformation, winged one, shapeshifter, she of 10,000 spells, she of 10,000 names, awakening our hearts to all of the transformation and changes of the ages that this earth has experienced and witnessed. You, dear one, have chosen this path at this time. For your soul has a purpose, a mission. For your human society will connect this path with angel-like wings that I awaken from your spine now. Bless us as we call your name. Isis, 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 Isis. Guardian of the southeast, keeper of sovereignty, she who awakens your longing for freedom, the expansion of the soul's path within you through the songs of the Divine Mother that awaken through you as you hum. Bless us as we call your name. Rhiannon, 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 Rhiannon. Guardian of the South, keeper of fire, we invoke the elements and spirits of fire to join us now. Queen of the Fae, she who awakens the love in your heart through the kiss of her lips and the gaze of her eyes. You will see her through many incarnations of other humans who walk the path. Be aware of them. You will notice them when they look at you in your eyes, awakening your heart to the love that exists within you, all aspects of that love, including divine love and righteous rage. All are welcome and forms of love that heal. Remember, the fire burns away darkness. as it awakens a path for new growth. Bless us as we call your name. Anya, 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 Anya. Guardian of the Southwest, keeper of mystery, she who's walked the shadows in the valleys of death with the witches, being misunderstood, being judged, being misinterpreted, being stolen, being reinterpreted, and then reclaiming power. Bless us as we call your name. Mary Magdalene, Mary Magdalene, Mary Magdalene, Mary Magdalene. Guardian of the West, keeper of water, we invoke the elements and the spirits of water to join us now. Keeper of the cauldron, of the emotions, the feelings, the air, the water, the earth, the fire that stirs within the cauldron of transformation, of alchemy. Bless us as we call your name. Caradwin, 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 Caradwin. Guardian of the Northwest, weaver of our sacred circle, goddess of the oppressed, queen of witches, we call your presence forth to weave this sacred circle sealed across all time and space for all those who will partake. And bless us as we call your name. Aradia, 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 Aradia. From beneath us, we call forth and invoke the presence of our loving Earth Mother, Pachamama, Gaia, whatever name you go by, in whatever realm and civilization. Those who cast this circle are in, we call you from beneath us to rise up and support us as we surrender to your embrace, to where the ancestors of all who have ever inhabited this earth have returned. We call forth the ancestors of all those who cast this circle today, the original keepers of the land for all areas of those casting this circle. We call you forth. We give you honor, thanks, and gratitude to the original stewards and keepers of the land. We call forth sovereignly, autonomously, individually, for each person who casts this circle today, their ancestors who walk with them in a good way from their bloodline. We call forth the Fae, the elementals, and the gnomes as the protectors and guardians of the Earth Mother. From above us, we call forth the star brothers and sisters to hold the space from above. And as we do so, we bring our hands to heart center, left hand on the heart, right hand over the left, breathing in deeply as we invite the child within us to step forth from the unconscious mind in the recesses of our heart to the front of our heart center, as if there were a 6-paned window with curtains that the child within you pulls open now and gleams out. Notice yourself as a child, the innocent one, the pure one, the creative genius, the one who knows the magic that exists within you. See it within their eyes looking out this paned window. See the color of their hair, the texture of their skin, and the magic and wisdom and knowing that exist in this Phoenix child. As we do this, breathe in and breathe out as we call forth sovereignly, autonomously, and individually for each person casting this circle their I am presence to join them in the center of this sacred circle. And as we do so, we lift this circle up, up, up to the 7th and 8th plane of consciousness, where divine knowing and miracles take place. We take this moment with breath and silence to acclimate to this energy frequency shift now. We open up our field for divine knowing, for miracles, for wisdom, for information, for our highest and best good, requesting that this circle remain sealed for each individual until they lie their head down to rest this night. And when they do, the circle will only then be open, but never broken, as they integrate throughout the following week to come all that was opened to them during this time. With this said, in gratitude and thanksgiving, we seal this circle, as above, so below, as within, so without, as the universe, so the soul. It is done, it is done, it is done, and so it is. Blessed be. Keeping your eyes closed, take a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. In through your nose. Keep your lips sealed as you exhale out your nose. So slowly, gently blinking your eyes open, coming back into this time and space here now. I invite you to add to the chat any colors of light you've seen, anything you experienced that you wish to share. We would love to witness that for you. Thank you for joining us and casting this circle today. Green is the first color being shared that I'm seeing. Oh, my leg is asleep. I'm seeing red roses, light pale purple, like the color of my dress. It is thunder and lightning outside. Pink. Kathleen is seeing pink. Someone's saying blue. Lavender. Lots of lavender today. Marjorie's seeing orange, black. So try not to judge these colors by what you know about these colors, but connect to the color that you've seen as speaking to you individually. Gold, blue, and purple. Beautiful, Night Witch. Thank you guys for sharing. I do not speak Spanish. I only speak English. Dark purple. Hello in Brazil. So much love to you, Night Witch Tarot. Dark green. Ooh, one of my favorites. So does anyone have any questions for me before we call it a day? Oh, thank you for being here on the live. Thank you to my moderators for keeping the chat a safe space. If you guys did not know, I have an online witch school. The link is in my bio, or you can go to mysticwitch.com. That is where you'll find the information for my retreats as well. If you have a question, feel free to enter it in the chat. Thank you for the gifts. Thank you for the roses, you guys. I appreciate you. If you haven't followed me, click the follow button. I'm also on other platforms. I am not seeing any questions come up. Well, since no one has any questions for me or anything, I'm going to say farewell for today. Thank you to my moderators for joining me, for helping keep alive a safe space. If you'd like to learn more from me, go check out my website, join my witch school and our online community for women only, and hopefully someone is called to join us in Sedona, because we have one space left for Sedona in this magical season of the witch that we are entering. Someone's saying they are having trouble understanding their belief in Jesus. So many witches believe Jesus was a person. They just don't believe Jesus was their savior. And so I invite you to explore if you believe you need a savior. That's usually where people who are programmed by religion start. They question the thought process of, why do I need a savior? And why, if there was a God who created us, would he want to kill one of his children, one of his creations, so that the other ones could be forgiven when he could just choose to forgive them? That's one of the first questions that you could ask yourself. You could also look at that fact that Christians took the story of Jesus and made it the root of their religion, when everything that Jesus did is the very same thing that witches were being killed for. So when you look at Jesus, or Yeshua as his name was, as a person like me who has a message for the world that he was sharing, that is separate from who the Christians seen him as, you begin to see that you only believe in his message of divine love, because most people don't believe they need a savior. They've only been programmed to believe that they need a savior. So that is my invitation to you. I have a course called 3 Cauldrons that walks you through releasing Christianity. But if you're still a Christian, the coven would not be a space for you to join, as most people who join our virtual coven are not Christian or leaving the Christian church and healing from that. So a lot of people who come into the craft feel they have a relationship with Jesus, but what they do come to is that relationship is no different than a relationship with any other deity. It's just the deity, the story of the deity Yeshua has been shaped by the Christian church so heavily that you don't realize there's a story outside of that. And that the agnostics and the Cathars actually had a completely different outlook on who Yeshua was. And so it would behoove you to explore that as well. So if there's any other questions for me, you are very welcome. Food for thought, right? All right, everyone, I'm going to say farewell. Hopefully you follow me. Usually when I go live, it's on Sundays. I haven't been going live every Sunday, but check in on Sundays around 10:30 Arizona time. That's usually when I go live. Thank you all who have been here, all the sisters from the retreat, all the witches, Eclectic Witch, Night Witch. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Marjorie, for being our moderator. So much love to you all. Go check out the link in my bio. Consider coming to join us in Sedona for a retreat, or in Salem next year. Blessed be, witches.